The mockery begins. The arrival. The morning sky over Geneva had been clear and blue until the shadows came. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the window of the International Defense Research Center, watching her coffee grow cold as massive crystalline structures materialized above the city. The Zephyrian Empire had arrived without warning, their ships appearing like floating mountains of pure energy and metal. Each vessel stretched nearly 2 kilometers in length, their surfaces pulsing with an inner light that hurt to look at directly. Elena had been working late again, reviewing her theoretical papers on quantum field disruption. Her colleagues often called her work interesting but impractical, and she had grown used to the dismissive comments. But now, as alien ships blotted out the sun across Earth's major cities, she wondered if her theories might suddenly become very practical indeed. "Dr. Rodriguez, you need to see this," called her research partner, Dr. Marcus Chen, from across the laboratory. He was staring at the emergency broadcast on his tablet, his face pale with shock. "They're requesting immediate contact with world leaders. The ships have appeared over every major capital simultaneously." Elena moved away from the window, her mind already racing. The precision of the attack suggested incredible coordination and technology, far beyond anything Earth possessed. These weren't explorers or traders. This was a show of force designed to intimidate and overwhelm. Within hours, Elena found herself among the scientists hastily assembled at the Global Defense Summit. She was surprised to be included, but her expertise in quantum physics had apparently caught someone's attention. The meeting was held in an underground bunker beneath the Swiss Alps, where world leaders, military commanders, and scientists gathered to face humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. First contact. The main conference room buzzed with nervous energy as screens flickered to life, showing the alien delegation for the first time. Ambassador Thane Vex appeared on the massive display, his appearance both fascinating and terrifying. His skin had a metallic sheen that shifted between silver and blue, and his eyes were large black orbs that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. His head was elongated, with what appeared to be natural crystalline formations growing from his skull like a crown. "Beings of Earth," Thane Vex spoke in perfect English, his voice carrying an otherworldly resonance that seemed to vibrate through the room. "I am Ambassador Thane Vex of the Zephyrian Empire. We represent a civilization that has conquered over 5,000 star systems across this galaxy. You have been selected for evaluation and integration into our empire." The Secretary General of the United Nations stepped forward, his diplomatic training barely masking his fear. "Ambassador, we welcome contact with your civilization. Earth would be honored to establish peaceful relations and perhaps engage in cultural and technological exchange." Thane Vex's expression changed in what might have been amusement. "Cultural exchange? You misunderstand your position. This is not a negotiation. We are here to inform you of your new status as a vassal world of the Zephyrian Empire. Your primitive civilization will be preserved and guided under our supervision." The word primitive hit Elena like a physical blow. She had spent her entire career pushing the boundaries of human knowledge, and to hear their entire species dismissed so casually ignited something deep within her. She watched as other delegates shifted uncomfortably, the weight of their helplessness settling over the room like a heavy blanket. The demonstration, over the next 3 days, Earth's representatives attempted to showcase their greatest achievements. They presented their most advanced spacecraft, quantum computers, fusion reactors, and medical technologies. With each presentation, the aliens became more openly contemptuous. "Your fastest vessels would serve as adequate escape pods for our children," Commander Zixcol, Thane Vex's military advisor, commented during a demonstration of the new Mars transport craft. His laugh was like grinding metal. "And these weapon systems, we abandoned such crude projectile technology millennia ago." Elena watched from the back of the room as humanity's finest achievements were systematically mocked and dismissed. But she was also observing something else. As a quantum physicist, she had trained herself to notice energy patterns and anomalies. During each demonstration of Zephyrian technology, she detected something that made her heart race with excitement. When the aliens activated their personal energy shields, there was a brief moment of instability, a quantum fluctuation that lasted mere microseconds before the shield stabilized. It happened every single time, and it followed a predictable pattern. Elena carefully recorded each instance, her mind already beginning to formulate theories. General Sarah Harrison, the head of Earth's unified military command, stood to address the aliens. You speak of our weapons as primitive, but we have developed plasma-based defense systems that might interest you. Thane Vex's assistant leaned close and whispered something in the alien language. The entire delegation burst into what Elena could only describe as laughter, though it sounded more like electronic static. "Forgive our amusement," Thane Vex said, not sounding apologetic at all. "Children in our empire's educational systems build more sophisticated plasma generators as simple class projects. Your entire technological base is roughly equivalent to what we achieved 40,000 years ago." The ultimatum on the fourth day, the true purpose of the Zephyrian visit, became clear. The assembled world leaders sat in stunned silence as Thane Vex delivered his ultimatum with the casual indifference of someone discussing the weather. "The Zephyrian Empire has completed its evaluation of Earth," he announced. "Your species shows potential for integration as a worker caste. You will be granted protected status as a vassal world, with the opportunity to serve the Empire in various capacities. Your population will be managed, your resources allocated efficiently, and your primitive conflicts ended permanently." President Williams of the United States found her voice first. "And if we refuse?" The alien ambassador's large, black eyes seemed to focus directly on her through the screen. "Refusal is not typically an option. Our battle fleet currently positioned in your outer solar system consists of 250 warships, each capable of sterilizing entire continents. However, we are not without mercy. We will provide a demonstration of our capabilities. To help clarify your position." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. The casual way he spoke of genocide was perhaps more terrifying than any dramatic threat would have been. These beings saw humanity not as equals to be conquered, but as insects, to be managed. "We request time to consider your offer," the Secretary General said carefully. "You have exactly 30 Earth days," Thane Vex replied. "We will leave a small diplomatic contingent to monitor your decision-making process. Choose wisely. No civilization has ever declined our offer twice." As the transmission ended, chaos erupted in the conference room. Military leaders shouted about impossible odds. Diplomats tried to find some middle ground, and scientists debated whether resistance was even theoretically possible. The spark of hope Elena slipped away from the arguing delegates and made her way to a quiet corner of the facility. She pulled out her tablet and began reviewing the energy readings she had secretly recorded during the alien demonstrations. The quantum fluctuations were definitely there, consistent across all their shield technologies. "Dr. Rodriguez?" A voice interrupted her thoughts. She looked up to see Commander Jake Morrison, one of the few military officers who had shown any interest in her theoretical work. "You've been very quiet during all this. I'm curious about your thoughts." Elena glanced around to make sure they weren't being overheard. "Commander, what I'm about to tell you might sound crazy, but I think they have a weakness." Jake's eyebrows rose. "What kind of weakness?" "Their shield technology relies on quantum field harmonics," Elena explained, showing him her tablet. "Every time they activate their shields, there's a brief period of instability. The field fluctuates before stabilizing. It's like they've perfected one specific approach to energy shielding, but never considered alternative methods of disruption." "You're saying their shields can be beaten?" "I'm saying they might be vulnerable to a specific type of quantum field disruption. I've been working on theoretical applications of cascade quantum failures for years. My colleagues always said it was interesting but impractical." Elena felt a spark of hope for the first time since the aliens had arrived. But if I'm right, their technological superiority might also be their greatest weakness. Jake leaned closer, his expression intense. What would you need to test this theory? Time, resources, and a lot of luck, Elena replied. And we'd need to do it without the aliens knowing. If they're monitoring our communications and activities, they can't know what we're planning. Can it be done in 30 days? Elena looked at her equations again, her mind racing through the possibilities. The scale of what she was proposing was enormous. Converting theoretical quantum physics into a practical weapon system would require breakthroughs that typically took years to achieve. I don't know, she admitted. But I think it's our only chance. As news reports began flooding in about alien ships taking positions throughout the solar system, Elena felt the weight of humanity's future settling on her shoulders. The Zephyrians had mocked Earth's primitive technology and underestimated human ingenuity. Perhaps it was time to show them what primitive humans could accomplish when their survival was at stake. The clock was ticking, and Elena Rodriguez was about to begin the most important work of her life. In her hidden laboratory, beneath the mountains, she would attempt to turn theoretical physics into humanity's salvation. The aliens had called them primitive, but they were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you underestimate. The beginning of the end days. The conference dissolved into arguments and desperate planning sessions. Elena quietly gathered her research materials. She had 30 days to prove that human creativity and determination could overcome technological superiority. The Zephyrians had shown their hand, demonstrated their power, and dismissed humanity as irrelevant. They had made their first mistake. Elena smiled grimly as she prepared to leave. The aliens might have superior technology, but they had never faced a species that specialized in the impossible. Humans had always been at their best when cornered, when conventional wisdom said they couldn't win. The Zephyrian Empire was about to learn why humanity had never stayed down for long. In exactly 30 days, they would discover that sometimes the greatest victories come from the most unexpected sources, and sometimes the most primitive species in the galaxy could teach the most advanced civilizations a lesson they would never forget. The countdown had begun. The underdog's triumph. The Underground Alliance doctor, Elena Rodriguez, had spent the first week after the Zephyrian ultimatum in complete isolation, working 18-hour days in her converted laboratory beneath the Swiss research facility. Her theoretical work on quantum cascade failures had never been more than academic curiosity before, but now it represented humanity's only hope for survival. Commander Jake Morrison found her on day 8, surrounded by holographic displays showing complex mathematical equations and energy patterns. Empty coffee cups and food containers littered her workspace, evidence of her complete dedication to the task at hand. Elena, you need to see this, Jake said, his voice tight with urgency. The aliens have begun what they call preliminary integration procedures. Elena looked up from her calculations, her eyes red with exhaustion. What does that mean? They're scanning our military installations, cataloging our resources, and interviewing selected individuals from various governments. They're treating us like livestock being processed for auction. Jake pulled up a classified report on his tablet. But more importantly, they've been demonstrating their technology to selected groups of scientists and military leaders. More demonstrations? Elena's pulse quickened. Jake, I need access to those demonstrations. Every time they activate their shields, I can gather more data about the quantum fluctuations. That's not all, Jake continued. I've been talking to some people who share our concerns about conventional resistance. There's a small group of us who think your approach might be our only option. Elena set down her stylus and looked at him seriously. How small a group? Dr. Yuki Tanaka from the Tokyo Quantum Research Institute, Colonel Sarah Chen from Advanced Weapons Development, and Major Alex Petrov from the European Space Defense Initiative. All of them have expertise we'll need, and all of them are willing to work outside official channels. Outside official channels means treason if we're caught, Elena pointed out, and slavery if we don't try. Jake replied grimly. The team assembles 2 days later. The 5 conspirators met in an abandoned mining facility in the Austrian Alps. The location had been chosen specifically because it was isolated, had no electronic surveillance, and possessed the heavy-duty power systems they would need for their project. Dr. Yuki Tanaka was a brilliant engineer who specialized in quantum field manipulation. Her work on quantum computers had made her one of the leading experts in field theory applications. She had traveled from Tokyo under the guise of attending a scientific conference, but had instead made her way to their secret meeting. "I've been analyzing the data you sent me," Yuki told Elena as they gathered around a makeshift conference table. "Your theory about cascade quantum failures is sound, but the power requirements for a device capable of affecting their shields would be enormous. We're talking about energy levels comparable to a small nuclear reactor." Colonel Sarah Chen, a weapons specialist who had spent her career developing next-generation military technology, nodded grimly. "The good news is that power systems of that magnitude exist. The bad news is that they're all heavily monitored and controlled by international treaty." Major Alex Petrov, who had experience with space-based defense systems, spread out technical diagrams on the table. "I've been thinking about delivery methods. Even if we can build a device capable of disrupting their shields, how do we get it close enough to their fleet to be effective?" Elena had been considering this problem for days. "We don't need to get close to their entire fleet. We need to understand how their shields work on a fundamental level. If I'm right about the quantum harmonics, disrupting one shield should create a cascade effect that propagates to nearby ships." "Like dominoes falling," Jake said, beginning to understand the implications. "Exactly. Their shields operate on linked quantum frequencies. It's what makes them so powerful, but it's also their critical vulnerability. If we can destabilize the quantum field of one ship, the disruption should cascade through their entire formation." The build working in 12-hour shifts, the team began constructing what Elena had codenamed the Crimson Array. The device was essentially a quantum field generator capable of producing precisely tuned disruption waves. The mathematics were incredibly complex, requiring calculations that pushed the limits of human understanding. Yuki handled the quantum field manipulation systems, creating microscopic control mechanisms that could adjust the frequency output with incredible precision. Sarah worked on the power systems, jury-rigging nuclear reactor components that Alex had borrowed from a decommissioned defense satellite. "The targeting system is the real challenge," Alex explained during their 3rd week of construction. "The device needs to lock onto the quantum signature of their shields, but we've only seen limited demonstrations. We need more data." Elena had been expecting this problem. "That's where our alien friends are going to help us without knowing it. They've scheduled a major demonstration for world leaders next week. They want to show off their military capabilities, to encourage surrender, and we'll be there recording everything," Jake said with a grim smile. The final week before the alien deadline was a blur of frantic activity. The Crimson Array had taken shape as a device roughly the size of a large desk, bristling with quantum field generators, energy-focusing arrays, and cooling systems. It looked like something from a science fiction movie, but the mathematics behind it were solid. The final demonstration. The Zephyrian demonstration took place in the skies above the Mediterranean Sea. Elena and her team watched from a concealed observation post on the Italian coast, their instruments recording every detail of the alien ship's energy signatures. "My God," Yuki whispered as the alien fleet moved into formation. 250 crystalline warships arranged themselves in perfect geometric patterns, their shields creating a shimmering barrier of energy that extended for miles in every direction. Thainvex's voice carried across the water through broadcast speakers, his words translated into dozens of Earth languages simultaneously. "People of Earth, observe the power of the Zephyrian Empire. Your primitive weapons cannot penetrate our defenses. Your aircraft cannot reach our ships. Surrender now and avoid unnecessary destruction." The demonstration began with a show of their defensive capabilities. Earth's most advanced fighter jets, equipped with the latest plasma weapons, attacked the alien formation. Their weapons struck the shields and simply dissipated, causing no damage whatsoever. The jets themselves were disabled by some form of energy pulse and had to glide back to emergency landing sites. But Elena wasn't watching the obvious display of power. Her instruments were focused on the quantum signatures of the alien shields, recording the harmonic frequencies with unprecedented precision. "There," she said excitedly, pointing to her display. "The fluctuation pattern is consistent across all their ships. They're all operating on the same base frequency with slight variations. Jake, we can do this." The alien demonstration continued with displays of their offensive capabilities. Energy beams vaporized several uninhabited islands, creating massive steam clouds as seawater boiled away instantly. The message was clear. Resistance was futile. But Elena's team had seen enough. They packed up their equipment and raced back to their hidden laboratory. They had less than 72 hours to fine-tune the Crimson Array and put their plan into action. The moment of truth. On the final day of the alien ultimatum, world leaders prepared to announce Earth's surrender. The Zephyrian fleet had moved into low Earth orbit, their massive ships visible to the naked eye as they hung in the sky like artificial stars. Elena's team had worked through the night, making final adjustments to the Crimson Array. The device was now mounted on a truck-sized mobile platform, powered by a compact fusion reactor that Sarah had somehow acquired through military channels. "The quantum field is stable," Yuki reported, her voice tense with exhaustion and anticipation. "Targeting systems are locked onto the lead ship's shield frequency." "Power systems are optimal," Sarah added. "We have enough energy for one full power discharge. After that, the reactor will need at least 6 hours to recharge." "One shot," Elena said quietly. "That's all we get." Alex had positioned them on a mountaintop in the Swiss Alps, with a clear line of sight to the alien fleet. The morning sky was brilliant blue, making the crystalline ships stand out like jewels against the heavens. Jake checked his communications, equipment one final time. "Elena, are you absolutely certain about the cascade effect? If this doesn't work, then we die as free humans instead of living as slaves," Elena replied firmly. "But I believe in the mathematics. Their shields will fall." The cascade at precisely noon, as the Secretary General was scheduled to announce Earth's surrender, Elena activated the Crimson Array. The device hummed with power, its quantum field generators creating a distortion in space-time that was invisible to the naked eye but devastating to Zephyrian shield technology. The quantum disruption beam struck the flagship of the alien fleet, and for a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the ship's shields began to flicker. The harmonic frequency that had protected the vessel for countless battles was suddenly fighting against itself, creating a cascade failure that spread through the quantum field matrix. "It's working," Yuki shouted over the device's increasing hum. "The disruption is propagating through their shield network." One by one, the alien ships lost their protective barriers. The quantum cascade effect rippled through their entire formation like a virus, destabilizing shield after shield in a chain reaction that the Zephyrians had never anticipated. Without their shields, the mighty warships were suddenly vulnerable to Earth's primitive weapons. Fighter jets that had been held in reserve launched from hidden bases around the world, their plasma weapons now capable of inflicting devastating damage on the unprotected alien hulls. The battle was brief but decisive. Ships that had seemed invincible hours before were now burning wrecks falling through Earth's atmosphere. The Zephyrian Empire, which had conquered thousands of worlds, was defeated by a small team of humans working with theoretical physics and stubborn determination. The new respect in the aftermath of what historians would later call the Battle of Geneva, the surviving Zephyrian ships retreated to the edge of the solar system. Ambassador Thane Vex requested emergency negotiations, his previous arrogance replaced by genuine respect and fear. "We underestimated your species," he admitted during the ceasefire talks. "We thought your primitive technology indicated primitive thinking. We were wrong. Elena stood before the alien ambassador, no longer the dismissed scientist, but now humanity's greatest hero. You made the mistake of confusing different with inferior. Our technology may be newer than yours, but our creativity and adaptability are our greatest strengths. The Zephyrian Empire withdraws its claim on Earth, Thane Vex announced formally. Furthermore, we extend an invitation for humanity to join the Galactic Council as an equal member. Your species has proven itself capable of innovations that escaped our civilization for millennia. The New Dawn 6. Months later, Elena stood in her new laboratory aboard the orbital research station that had become Earth's first diplomatic outpost. Representatives from dozens of alien civilizations came to study human technology and learn from the species that had defeated the mighty Zephyrian Empire. Dr. Yuki Tanaka entered the lab carrying a report from the Galactic Council. The Andromedan Republic wants to license our quantum disruption technology for their defense systems. The Centauri Federation is offering a mutual defense pact, and the Vegan Collective wants to establish a joint research initiative. Elena smiled as she looked out at the stars. A year ago, we were considered primitive. Now every advanced civilization in the galaxy wants to work with us. What's next? Yuki asked. Elena turned back to her workstation where new equations were taking shape. We keep pushing the boundaries. We keep being human. We keep proving that sometimes the best solutions come from the most unexpected places. The universe had learned to respect humanity not for their advanced technology, but for their ingenuity, creativity, and refusal to accept defeat. Earth had gone from being a target for conquest to being a sought-after ally in the span of a single battle. And at the center of it all was the lesson that the Zephyrian Empire had learned too late. Never underestimate a species that specializes in the impossible. When humans are backed into a corner, they don't just fight back. They find ways to win that no one else would ever think to try. The Crimson Gambit had succeeded beyond Elena's wildest dreams, and humanity's future among the stars was now limited only by their imagination.